Vivian Sinclair's palm cracked across Anna Hollings's face so hard that the heavy-set maid stumbled into a marble column, the silver tray crashing across the polished floor. The sting barely registered compared to the words that followed. "Say one word about what you heard," Vivian whispered with a smile elegant enough to fool every guest in the mansion. "And your sister's medication disappears tomorrow morning." Anna's blood turned cold. Only seconds earlier, while dusting the private sitting room outside Domenico Russo's office, she had overheard the woman destined to become the queen of the Russo Empire calmly arranging the murder of the most feared mafia boss on the East Coast. In 3 days, Domenico would unknowingly surrender control of his waterfront empire. Corrupt federal agents would storm the estate, and Vivian's own bodyguard would execute him amid the chaos. Trapped inside the mansion, watched by armed men and dismissed as nothing more than an overweight servant, Anna possessed the only proof that could stop the betrayal. But exposing the truth could condemn her dying sister before Domenico ever learned his fiancée's real face. Before sunrise, the Russo estate was already awake. Black sedans moved through the iron gates. Armed guards changed shifts beneath the stone archways. Kitchen workers carried crates of imported wine into the ballroom, while florists covered the grand staircase with white roses for the engagement gala. Anna Hollings moved quietly through it all. She wore a grey maid's uniform that pinched at her waist and sensible shoes worn thin at the heels. At 28, she had learned how to make herself smaller without actually becoming small. She lowered her eyes when important men passed. She stepped aside before anyone asked. She carried trays close to her body so guests would not complain that she took up too much space. Most people in the mansion did not know her name. To them, she was simply the heavy maid who appeared when something spilled. That invisibility had become useful. Powerful men spoke freely around furniture, paintings, and servants. Anna had heard union leaders discuss strikes designed to bankrupt rival shipping companies. She had heard lawyers warn capos which witnesses might cooperate with federal investigators. She had heard politicians promise favors while drinking Domenico Russo's whiskey. No one lowered his voice when Anna entered. They assumed a woman who scrubbed floors could not understand balance sheets, territorial agreements, or political leverage. Anna understood more than they imagined. She remembered names, dates, contradictions. She noticed which men shook hands warmly but avoided eye contact. She knew which guards drank during night shifts and which security cameras froze whenever the rain became heavy. She never used the information. Her silence was not loyalty to crime. It was survival. Every Friday, the Russo family's medical office transferred payment to the hospital, treating Anna's younger sister, Lily. Without those payments, Lily would lose access to the specialist managing the rare heart condition that had already stolen most of her childhood. The doctors never promised a cure. They only promised time. For Anna, time was worth every insult. That morning, Vivian Sinclair found her polishing the glass table in the East Salon. Vivian entered, wearing a cream silk dress and a diamond bracelet that probably cost more than Anna would earn in 20 years. Her beauty was the kind that made rooms adjust themselves around her. Men straightened, women watched. Staff members became nervous before she even spoke. She stopped beside Anna and looked down at the spotless table. "There's a mark." Anna examined the glass. "I don't see one, Miss Sinclair." Vivian lifted her champagne flute and poured the remaining liquid across the surface. "There is now." The two women stared at each other. One smiled, the other reached for a cloth. Vivian watched Anna clean the spill slowly. "You should be grateful Domenico allows you to work upstairs," she said. "A woman with your limitations would normally be hidden in the laundry room." Anna kept wiping. Vivian leaned closer. Does the uniform come in a larger size, or have you reached the end of the manufacturer's imagination?" A guard near the doorway laughed under his breath. Anna felt the familiar heat rise into her face, but she gave Vivian nothing. "Yes, Miss Sinclair." Vivian's smile weakened. Cruel people often became irritated when humiliation failed to produce a performance. "You can clean Domenico's private suite next," Vivian said, "and stay away from the ballroom tonight. I don't want guests losing their appetite." When she left, Anna remained bent over the table until the trembling in her hands stopped. She thought about Lily. She thought about the last hospital visit, when her sister had smiled beneath a clear oxygen tube and asked whether Domenico Russo was truly as terrifying as the newspapers claimed. Anna had answered honestly, "I don't know." She had worked in his home for nearly 3 years, yet Domenico remained difficult to understand. He was ruthless with betrayal and disciplined with business. Men twice Anna's age lowered their voices when he entered a room. He never shouted because he never needed to, but he also knew the names of every guard killed protecting his family. He paid their widows personally. When Anna had asked for an advance during Lily's last emergency, Domenico had not questioned her, humiliated her, or demanded repayment. He had simply called the hospital. "Give her sister whatever treatment she needs." Anna had never forgotten it. By noon, she entered Domenico's private suite carrying fresh linens. The rooms were unusually empty. Domenico was meeting with attorneys downstairs, and most of the security team was preparing for the gala. Anna changed the bedding, cleaned the mirrors, and dusted the bookshelves. As she approached the adjoining sitting room, she heard Vivian's voice behind the partially closed door. The signature must happen before the raid. Anna stopped. A man answered. "Donovan, Vivian's personal bodyguard. It will. Russo believes the transfer is temporary." "And the agents?" "Positioned 2 miles east. They enter 7 minutes after the documents are signed." Anna's grip tightened around the linen basket. She knew she should leave. Instead, she moved closer. Vivian spoke again, her voice calm and almost bored. "Domenico dies during the confusion. Make it look like he reached for a weapon." Donovan chuckled. "That will not be difficult in this house." "What about his loyal capos?" "The rival families have lists. Some will be arrested. The rest will be eliminated before morning." A pause followed. Then Vivian said, "Once the waterfront belongs to my holding company, the Russo Empire will be too divided to fight back." Anna's breathing became shallow. The engagement gala was not a celebration. It was an execution. She stepped backward, but the edge of the basket struck a bronze table. The sound was small. Inside the sitting room, the conversation stopped. Anna turned toward the bedroom door. Before she reached it, Donovan stepped into the doorway. His expression held no surprise, only satisfaction. Vivian appeared behind him. For several seconds, she looked at Anna without speaking. Then her eyes moved to the linen basket, to Anna's pale face, and finally to the open door behind her. "How much did you hear?" Anna forced herself to breathe. "Nothing, Miss Sinclair." Vivian walked toward her slowly. "You were always a terrible liar." Anna took another step back. Donovan closed the bedroom door. The lock clicked. Vivian removed one glove, raised her hand, and struck Anna across the face. The blow sent the basket tumbling from her arms. Before Anna could recover, Donovan seized her wrist and twisted it behind her back. Vivian bent close enough for Anna to smell her perfume. "You have a sister at St. Matthew's Hospital," she whispered. "Lily, isn't it?" Anna went completely still. Vivian smiled, and in that moment, Anna understood that she was no longer merely a witness. She was a hostage. Donovan did not loosen his grip. His fingers dug into Anna's wrist with practiced precision, painful enough to remind her how easily he could break the bones beneath her skin. Vivian calmly pulled her glove back into place, as though striking another human being required no more thought than adjusting a piece of jewelry. "You disappoint me," she said softly. "I was beginning to believe you were the only servant in this house who understood how to survive." Anna struggled to steady her breathing. "I didn't hear enough to understand anything." Vivian smiled. "The problem isn't what you understood." She stepped closer until only inches separated them. "The problem is that you heard me speaking at all." Donovan forced Anna into one of the leather chairs inside the private sitting room. He remained behind her, one hand resting on her shoulder, like a steel clamp. Vivian walked toward the fireplace and poured herself another glass of sparkling water. She looked completely relaxed. That frightened Anna more than the slap. People who lost control were dangerous. People who remained calm while deciding another person's fate were far worse. "You know," Vivian said without turning around, "most people think eliminating witnesses is messy." She took a sip. "I disagree." Anna swallowed. Vivian continued. "Sometimes death creates unnecessary questions. Missing employees generate paperwork, police reports, family inquiries." She slowly faced Anna again. "But sick relatives," a faint smile appeared. "They die every day." Anna's heart nearly stopped. Vivian picked up her phone from the marble mantel. "Your sister receives a specialized medication through St. Matthew's Hospital, doesn't she?" Anna said nothing. Vivian read from the screen. "Lily Hollings, 22 years old. Congenital cardiomyopathy. Monthly treatment approved through a charitable medical foundation owned by Russo Logistics." She looked up. "Interesting coincidence, isn't it?" Anna's mouth went dry. "Please." Vivian ignored the plea. "One phone call to the right administrator." She lightly tapped the phone with one finger. "One change to a medication schedule." Another tap. One dosage error. A final tap. The doctors would call it unfortunate. Anna felt the room spinning. No, they would never suspect murder. Silence settled over the room. For the first time since entering the Russo estate years earlier, Anna realized just how powerless she truly was. She could survive humiliation. She could survive mockery. She could survive exhaustion. She could not survive choosing between an innocent man's life and her sister's. Vivian slipped the phone back into her handbag. "So here are your choices." She spoke as if discussing dinner reservations. "You forget everything you heard." She raised one finger. "You continue cleaning my house." A second finger. "You smile." A third. "And your sister continues receiving excellent medical care." She paused. "Or..." The smile vanished. "You become very brave." Anna looked up. "And your sister dies before the weekends." No threat could have landed harder. Anna's eyes filled, but she refused to cry. Vivian noticed. "I admire that." She genuinely sounded impressed. "You love your sister more than yourself." She walked toward the door. "Good." Without looking back, she added, "That makes you predictable." Donovan released Anna's wrist. Before opening the door, he leaned close enough for Anna to hear only his voice. "We'll be watching." Then they were gone. Anna remained frozen in the chair. Minutes passed before she trusted her legs enough to stand. Her reflection in the bedroom mirror startled her. A red handprint burned across her left cheek. Her wrist was already beginning to bruise. She splashed cold water onto her face until the redness faded as much as possible. Then she picked up the fallen linen basket. Because the beds still needed changing, the mansion still needed cleaning, and no one would care that the world had just collapsed around her. The next 3 days became a prison without walls. Everywhere Anna went, someone watched. Sometimes it was Donovan himself. More often, it was unfamiliar men pretending to inspect security systems or deliver supplies. She recognized professional surveillance immediately. When she carried towels to the West Wing, one man lingered outside the hallway. When she visited the employee cafeteria, another appeared beside the vending machines. When she finished work and rode the evening bus toward the hospital, a black SUV remained several cars behind. They never approached her. They didn't need to. The message was obvious. We know where you are. We know where your sister is. Try something. Anna visited Lily every evening. Her sister looked pale, but smiled the moment Anna entered the room. You look tired. I've been working overtime. You always say that. Anna forced a laugh. The engagement party is keeping everyone busy. Lily studied her face. What happened to your cheek? Anna instinctively touched the fading bruise. I bumped into a cabinet. You've become very clumsy lately. Anna smiled again. A lie. Another lie. She hated how naturally they came now. Lily reached for her hand. You know. She hesitated. When I get better, you won't have to work there anymore. Anna looked away before tears could form. You'll get better first. I mean it. We'll worry about that later. No. Lily squeezed her hand gently. You've spent years taking care of me. She smiled. I want to take care of you someday. Anna nodded because she could no longer trust herself to speak. As she left the hospital that evening, the same black SUV waited across the street. Its headlights switched on the moment she stepped outside. The following afternoon, Domenico Russo returned unexpectedly from a meeting downtown. The atmosphere inside the estate changed instantly. Guards straightened, capos gathered, lawyers hurried through hallways carrying folders. Power did not announce itself. It simply arrived. Anna carried fresh coffee toward the library, where Domenico reviewed contracts with 2 attorneys. As she entered, one of the lawyers excused himself to answer a phone call. The other followed moments later. For the first time all week, Anna found herself alone with the Mafia Boss. Domenico looked up from the documents. His sharp grey eyes settled immediately on the fading bruise beneath her makeup. He said nothing for several seconds. Then he quietly asked, Who did that? Anna froze. No one, sir. I didn't ask whether someone did. His voice remained calm. I asked who. She looked down. I fell. You expect me to believe that? Silence. Domenico stood and walked around the desk. He wasn't physically intimidating because he raised his voice. He was intimidating because complete confidence surrounded every movement. He stopped several feet away, careful not to invade her space. Look at me. Anna obeyed. The people who work under this roof are under my protection. His tone was matter-of-fact. If someone harmed you inside my home... He paused. I need to know. Anna felt her chest tighten. This was the moment. She could tell him everything. Vivian, the conspiracy, the federal agents, the assassination. She opened her mouth. Domenico! Footsteps echoed outside the library. Anna glanced toward the doorway. Donovan stood there carrying a folder. His expression never changed, but his eyes met hers for only a fraction of a second. That was enough. He slowly tapped 2 fingers against the folder. Once, twice. A silent reminder. 2 lives. Yours, your sister's. Anna felt every ounce of courage drain away. She forced herself to smile. It really was an accident. Domenico watched her for a long moment. He clearly knew she was lying, but he also understood something else. She was terrified. He did not press further. Instead, he reached into his jacket and handed her a small business card. It contained only a phone number. "No matter the hour," he said quietly. "If you ever need protection—" He held her gaze. "Call." Anna accepted the card with trembling fingers. "Thank you, sir." Domenico nodded once before returning to his paperwork. Anna walked out of the library without looking back. Only after reaching the empty servants' corridor did she allow herself to lean against the wall. The card remained clenched in her hand. One phone call could save Domenico. One phone call could kill Lily. For several agonizing minutes, she simply stood there, trapped between gratitude and fear. Then she slipped the card into her apron pocket. Not because she had chosen silence forever, but because, somehow, she would have to find another way. Anna did not sleep that night. She lay awake in the small room reserved for upstairs staff, staring at the cracked ceiling, while the business card Domenico had given her rested on the bedside table. One phone call. That was all it would take. If she warned him, he might survive. If Vivian discovered the call before Domenico acted, Lily would almost certainly pay the price. There had to be another way. By dawn, Anna realized she had been asking the wrong question. She did not need to speak. She needed proof. Proof that even Vivian could not explain away. Preparations for the engagement gala transformed the Russo estate into a fortress. Florists arrived by the truckload. Luxury caterers occupied every kitchen. Musicians rehearsed beneath crystal chandeliers, while electricians adjusted lighting throughout the ballroom. The increased activity created something unexpected: chaos. For the first time in days, Donovan's surveillance became less organized. His men still watched Anna, but they were also supervising deliveries, inspecting guest entrances, coordinating security checkpoints, and receiving visiting couples from across the East Coast. The estate had become too busy to monitor one maid every second. Anna noticed immediately. She always noticed. That was the difference between seeing and observing. Most people saw expensive decorations. Anna saw blind spots. While carrying fresh towels through the north corridor, she watched two guards leave their positions simultaneously after a radio call. When she cleaned the West Gallery, she noticed one security camera repeatedly freezing for 3 or 4 seconds before correcting itself. Later that afternoon, she watched kitchen staff prop open a service door with a crate of imported wine. No one reported it. No one even looked. Small mistakes, harmless individually, dangerous together. Years spent cleaning every room in the mansion had taught Anna something the armed guards never understood. A house revealed itself differently to servants. Architects built corridors. Maids discovered shortcuts. Contractors installed walls. Cleaning staff learned what existed behind them. As she dusted an antique cabinet in the oldest wing of the estate, Anna's eyes drifted toward an ornate wooden panel hidden behind decorative wallpaper. Most people believed it was simply part of the design. Anna knew better. Nearly 2 years earlier, a leaking pipe had forced maintenance workers to remove the panel. Behind it, she had discovered a narrow passage constructed decades before, when wealthy families preferred servants to move unseen between rooms. The repairs had finished. The panel had been sealed again. Everyone forgot about it. Except Anna. She quietly tested the edge with her fingertips. It still shifted. Only slightly. Enough. A dangerous idea began forming. That evening, Vivian hosted a private planning meeting inside the blue drawing room. Only trusted people were invited. Anna was assigned to serve coffee. She entered carrying a silver tray, her expression as empty as always. Around the table sat Vivian, Donovan, 2 unfamiliar businessmen, and 3 capos Anna recognized from previous family gatherings. One of them was Marco Bellini. Another was Vincent Caruso. Neither man looked comfortable. Vivian placed several folders on the table. "The transfer documents are finalized." One businessman nodded. "The holding company is prepared." Donovan asked, "And the federal contact?" "He confirmed the timeline this morning." Anna carefully poured coffee. No one lowered his voice. No one acknowledged her existence. Vivian continued. "The agents remain outside city jurisdiction until they receive my signal." One capo frowned. "What if Russo delays signing?" Vivian smiled confidently. "He won't." "How can you be certain?" "Because he's still in love with the illusion I created." A few men laughed quietly. Anna continued serving drinks. Every sentence became another piece of the conspiracy. Every face became another name she would need to remember. As she reached Donovan's chair, he suddenly grabbed her wrist. Her heart lurched. He looked directly into her eyes. "You seem nervous. I spilled coffee earlier. You've been nervous for days." Vivian glanced toward them. "Leave her alone." Donovan released Anna but continued smiling. "She's harmless." Vivian didn't even bother looking at Anna. "Exactly." Anna lowered her head and quietly left the room. The insult should have hurt. Instead, it gave her something far more valuable. Confirmation. Vivian truly believed she was invisible. Invisible people could go places powerful people never imagined. Near midnight, after most of the estate had fallen silent, Anna slipped out of her room. She carried only a flashlight no larger than her palm and a ring of maintenance keys borrowed months earlier to clean storage areas. Every floorboard seemed louder than usual. Every shadow looked occupied. She reached the old north corridor without being seen. The decorative wall panel stood exactly where she remembered. She inserted the smallest key. It didn't fit. The second key turned halfway. The third clicked. The panel opened only a few inches before years of dust resisted movement. Anna pushed harder. Old wood groaned softly. She froze. No footsteps. Slowly she squeezed through the narrow opening. The passage beyond smelled of aged timber and forgotten stone. Cobwebs stretched between support beams. The ceiling was low enough that Anna immediately had to bend. She suddenly understood why no one else used these corridors. For someone with her larger frame, every step would be a struggle. She considered turning back. Instead, she remembered Lily lying in the hospital bed. She remembered Domenico quietly saying, "Everyone under my roof is under my protection." He had protected people he barely knew. Now no one was protecting him. Anna switched on the tiny flashlight. A faded maintenance map returned from memory. The servant passages connected almost every major room inside the mansion. Ballroom, library, master suite, private offices, guest wing. They had been designed so servants could refill fireplaces, replace linens, and prepare rooms without disturbing wealthy families. If the old routes remained intact, she might move through the estate without Donovan ever seeing her. The first tunnel forced her sideways between rough stone walls. Her shoulder scraped exposed brick. A loose nail caught her sleeve. She pulled free, leaving part of the fabric behind. Sweat formed quickly despite the cold air. Each movement required twisting, crouching, and careful breathing. At one point, the ceiling dipped so low she nearly had to crawl. Pain spread across her knees. Her breathing echoed through the narrow passage. She stopped repeatedly, terrified the sound would carry through hidden ventilation grates. Minutes felt like hours. Then voices drifted through the wall ahead. Anna extinguished the flashlight instantly. She recognized Donovan. Outside the eastern gate, another man answered. "Our contractors are already positioned. They're not contractors. They become contractors after tomorrow." Laughter. Donovan spoke again. "The federal convoy waits until Vivian confirms the transfer. What about the maid?" A pause. "If she causes trouble?" Metal clicked. Probably a pistol magazine. She disappears before sunrise. Anna covered her mouth to silence her breathing. Another voice joined the conversation. And her sister? Donovan's reply was chillingly casual. Collateral problems solve themselves. Footsteps gradually faded. Only then did Anna allow herself to inhale. The threat had become even worse. Vivian intended to eliminate both sisters regardless. Silence would no longer save Lily. For the first time since overhearing the conspiracy, fear gave way to certainty. She had nothing left to lose. There was only one path forward now. She had to expose everyone before the engagement ceremony began, no matter what it cost. Anna waited until the voices disappeared completely before moving again. The narrow passage twisted sharply beneath the oldest section of the mansion. Every movement scraped her shoulders against rough stone, and sweat soaked through her uniform despite the cool air trapped inside the walls. She had cleaned these rooms for years. She knew approximately where she was. Above her lay Vivian Sinclair's private suite. If there was physical proof of the conspiracy anywhere inside the estate, it would be there. Anna switched off the flashlight and climbed the final wooden ladder built into the passage decades earlier. A small inspection hatch rested above her head. She pressed gently. It refused to move. She pushed harder. The old panel shifted with a faint groan. Anna froze. Silence. No footsteps. She slowly lifted the hatch just enough to peer through. The room was empty. Moonlight poured through floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the estate gardens. Designer luggage lined one wall, while expensive gowns hung neatly beside a full-length mirror. Fresh flowers filled crystal vases that had probably been replaced twice that day. Everything appeared elegant. Everything concealed betrayal. Anna climbed carefully into the room, replacing the hidden panel exactly as she had found it. She had no more than a few minutes. Vivian could return at any moment. Anna forced herself to think like a cleaner. People always hid important objects where they reached naturally. Bedside drawers, vanity tables, handbags, travel cases. She checked the obvious places first. Nothing. Jewelry, cosmetics, perfume or nothing. She moved toward a collection of luxury handbags displayed on custom shelving. Vivian changed bags several times a day depending on the occasion. One black leather bag felt unusually heavy. Anna opened it. Inside sat makeup, a wallet, sunglasses, and a cheap prepaid cell phone. Her pulse quickened. It looked completely out of place among thousands of dollars worth of designer accessories. A burner phone, exactly as she had suspected. With trembling hands, Anna pressed the power button. The screen lit instantly. No password. Vivian clearly believed no one would ever dare touch it. Anna opened the most recent messages. Her breathing stopped. The evidence was even worse than she imagined. One thread contained detailed arrival times for federal vehicles stationed outside the city. Another listed the names of 3 Russo capos willing to betray Domenico during the engagement ceremony. A third conversation outlined payment transfers from rival mafia families in exchange for shipping routes and waterfront access. Photographs of unsigned legal documents confirmed that control of the Brooklyn docks would pass into Vivian's holding company minutes before the planned raid. Then Anna found messages from Donovan. Witness overheard discussion. Female maid. Hospital leverage confirmed. Sister remains effective pressure point. Anna stared at the words. Her sister had become nothing more than leverage, written inside a text message. She swallowed the wave of anger threatening to overwhelm her. Emotion could come later. Right now, she needed evidence. She quickly photographed every conversation, using the small maintenance phone she carried for emergencies. Then she noticed something even more valuable. A contact labeled only DR Secure Domenico. His encrypted number. Anna hesitated. If she used the burner phone, Vivian might discover the messages had been opened. If she did nothing, Domenico would never know. She made her decision. She forwarded every conversation, every photograph, every payment record, every name, every location, every instruction. The phone processed the files one after another. Sent. 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 Anna stared at the screen, praying the messages had gone through. They had. Relief lasted less than 2 seconds. What if Domenico never checked the phone before tomorrow's ceremony? He would spend the entire day greeting politicians, judges, businessmen, and mafia leaders. He might not look at a personal message until it was already too late. The realization struck like ice. Sending the evidence was not enough. She would have to place it directly into his hands. A floorboard creaked somewhere beyond the bedroom. Anna's head snapped toward the door. Footsteps, approaching. She shoved the burner phone back into the handbag. No. If she left it behind, Vivian could erase everything. Anna grabbed the phone instead. The bedroom handle began turning. She barely reached the hidden wall panel before the door opened. Vivian entered, laughing softly into another phone held against her ear. Tomorrow night everything changes. Anna squeezed herself into the opening and silently lowered the wooden panel behind her. Darkness swallowed her again. She held her breath. Only inches away, Vivian continued speaking. Domenico still believes this engagement is about love. She laughed. It almost makes me feel guilty. Another pause. No, after tomorrow there won't be an empire left to inherit. There will only be mine. Anna remained motionless inside the cramped passage while Vivian moved about the room. Drawers opened. Closet doors closed. Water ran briefly inside the bathroom. Nearly 15 agonizing minutes passed before the lights finally switched off. Only then did Anna dare continue crawling. The following evening, the Russo estate glittered like a royal palace. Hundreds of luxury vehicles filled the grounds. Politicians arrived beside celebrities. Shipping executives shook hands with mafia capos, whose names never appeared in newspapers. Crystal chandeliers illuminated the grand ballroom, while an orchestra played softly beneath vaulted ceilings. Every camera flashed toward Domenico Russo. Standing beside him, Vivian looked every bit the perfect future wife. No guest could see the war already unfolding beneath the surface. Anna worked with the serving staff, carrying silver trays through crowds of the most powerful people on the East Coast. Hidden beneath a folded serving cloth rested Vivian's burner phone. Every few minutes, Anna searched for Domenico. Each attempt failed. Bodyguards surrounded him constantly. Business leaders requested private conversations. Family elders interrupted him with ceremonial greetings. The window to reach him grew smaller with every passing minute. Across the ballroom, Vivian suddenly looked toward the serving staff. Her smile disappeared. Her eyes narrowed. She glanced instinctively toward the designer handbag resting beside her chair, then back to Anna. Understanding flashed across her face. She knew. Without changing her pleasant expression for the guests, Vivian made a tiny motion with 2 fingers. Donovan immediately turned. His eyes found Anna. He noticed the unusual way she held the serving cloth against her body. His expression hardened. He began walking. Not quickly, confidently, like a hunter who knew his prey had nowhere left to run. Anna realized the deception had finally ended. There would be no second chance. Either she reached Domenico within the next few moments, or neither she nor Lily would survive the night. Anna tightened her grip beneath the serving cloth and began walking. Not running. Running would invite panic. Running would guarantee Donovan reached her before she reached Domenico. She forced herself into the measured pace expected of a maid serving champagne. Around her, crystal glasses clinked as politicians toasted future business ventures. Orchestra music floated beneath conversations about shipping contracts, campaign donations, and expanding ports along the Atlantic coast. None of the guests realized that within minutes, the ballroom would become a battlefield. Across the room, Domenico stood before an antique walnut table where the waterfront transfer documents had already been prepared. Several respected capos surrounded him. So did attorneys. So did photographers. Vivian glided toward him with effortless grace, every inch the devoted fiancée. Only Anna saw Donovan quietly moving along the opposite side of the ballroom, cutting off her path. He wasn't rushing anymore. He didn't need to. He believed she was trapped. Anna suddenly changed direction. Instead of walking directly toward Domenico, she entered the line of waiters carrying fresh champagne. The identical silver trays concealed her for several precious seconds. Donovan frowned. He momentarily lost sight of her. That was all she needed. Anna slipped between two banquet tables, ignored the startled looks from wealthy guests, and emerged only a few yards from the signing ceremony. One of Domenico's security guards immediately stepped forward. "Staff stays behind the rope." "I need to speak with Mr. Russo." "Not now. It's about his life." The guard reached for her arm. Before he touched her, Vivian's voice echoed across the ballroom. "Remove her." Her pleasant smile never faded, but the warmth had disappeared completely. This maid has been emotionally unstable all week. Several guests looked toward Anna with irritation. Someone laughed quietly. A socialite whispered loud enough for nearby tables to hear. They're letting servants interrupt the engagement now. Anna ignored them. She saw only Domenico. Only a few more steps. Donovan suddenly burst through the crowd. His hand disappeared beneath his jacket. Anna knew what that meant. There was no more time. She shoved past the security guard. The champagne glasses crashed onto the marble floor. The ballroom fell silent. "Domenico!" Every conversation stopped. The Mafia boss turned toward the commotion. His expression showed confusion rather than anger. Anna reached him before anyone else could. With trembling hands, she pulled the burner phone from beneath the serving cloth and thrust it toward him. "You have to read this." Vivian's composure cracked for the first time. "She's lying." Domenico looked from Anna's bruised face to the cheap prepaid phone, then back to Vivian. Something in Anna's eyes made him hesitate. He accepted the phone. The first message appeared immediately. Federal convoy positioned. His expression hardened. He opened the next conversation. Payment confirmations, traitor names, raid instructions. He continued scrolling. Each message drained more color from his face. When he reached Donovan's texts discussing Lily's medical treatment, his eyes stopped moving. The ballroom remained completely silent. Domenico slowly lifted his head. He looked directly at Vivian. "You threatened her sister." Vivian took one cautious step backward. "Domenico, listen to me. You sold my organization. Those messages are fabricated." He continued reading. "You bribed my capos. They're edited. You coordinated with federal agents. They're fake. You arranged my murder." Vivian's voice suddenly sharpened. "Don't be stupid." The room seemed to freeze. Domenico quietly lowered the phone. His gaze became colder than Anna had ever seen. "Take another step." He wasn't speaking to Vivian. He was speaking to Donovan. The bodyguard had already drawn a suppressed pistol beneath his jacket. Everything happened at once. Donovan fired first. The muffled shot shattered crystal, but missed Domenico as the Mafia boss instinctively pivoted sideways. Almost simultaneously, Domenico's own pistol appeared from beneath his tailored jacket. One shot. Perfectly controlled, Donovan collapsed before he fired again. Panic exploded across the ballroom. Guests screamed. Tables overturned. Several capos reached for concealed weapons. Some moved toward Domenico. Others moved against him. The traitors had revealed themselves. Gunfire erupted from opposite sides of the room. Marco Bellini drew on another capo. Vincent Caruso tackled one of Donovan's mercenaries before he could reach the stage. Two disguised federal collaborators attempted to escape through the rear entrance, but were intercepted by Russo security. Anna dropped behind an overturned banquet table as bullets shattered bottles behind the bar. She covered her head. The ballroom that had hosted champagne toasts only moments earlier had become a war zone. Through the chaos, Vivian tried to run. She never made it. Domenico caught her wrist before she reached the side corridor. She struggled furiously. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You'll lose everything." "I almost did." Another burst of gunfire echoed from the entrance hall. One loyal guard rushed toward Domenico. "Boss, the federal convoy just changed direction." Domenico didn't appear surprised. He looked toward Anna. "You warned me earlier than they expected." The guard continued. "Our legal team redirected the raid to Warehouse 9, exactly as your emergency protocol ordered." Another man hurried into the ballroom carrying a radio. "The attorneys released the recordings." "What recordings?" one capo asked. Domenico never looked away from Vivian. The conversations with corrupt agents. Months earlier, anticipating future betrayal from political allies, Domenico had quietly ordered every sensitive negotiation involving outside officials to be recorded through legal counsel. Anna's warning had given him barely enough time to activate those contingency plans. Instead of storming the estate during the engagement ceremony, the corrupt federal team had been diverted toward an abandoned property already under surveillance by internal investigators and independent prosecutors. The trap Vivian designed had closed around her own allies instead. Within minutes, reports flooded the radios. Corrupt agents detained. Financial records secured. Bank transfers frozen. Several traitorous capos surrendering without resistance. Vivian stared at Domenico in disbelief. This wasn't possible. "It became possible," Domenico replied quietly. "Because you underestimated the only person in this house who truly paid attention." His eyes shifted toward Anna. She was still kneeling beside the overturned table, her uniform torn, her hands trembling, the bruises on her face impossible to hide beneath the ballroom lights. She looked nothing like the powerful people surrounding her. Yet, without her, none of them would still be standing. The gunfire gradually faded. One by one, weapons were lowered. The betrayal had failed. The Russo Empire still stood. But every eye in the ballroom had turned toward the Maid everyone had ignored only minutes before. The ballroom fell into an uneasy silence. Broken crystal glittered across the marble floor like scattered ice. The scent of gunpowder lingered beneath the perfume of white roses, and the orchestra had long since abandoned its instruments. Armed guards escorted the surviving conspirators toward the entrance, while medics treated the wounded. No one spoke. No one quite knew what came next. For decades, every crisis inside the Russo organization had ended the same way. With Domenico making an example of someone, many guests expected him to execute Vivian immediately. Others assumed he would order every suspected traitor shot before sunrise. Instead, Domenico slowly holstered his pistol. His expression remained unreadable as he stepped away from Vivian and walked across the ballroom. Not toward his capos, not toward his attorneys, toward Anna. She was still kneeling beside the overturned banquet table, trying unsuccessfully to steady her breathing. Her uniform was stained with dust from the hidden passages and splattered champagne from the shattered trays. A bruise darkened one cheek. Another wrapped around her wrist where Donovan had grabbed her days earlier. She looked nothing like the elegant guests surrounding her. She looked like exactly what everyone had always believed she was. A servant. Domenico stopped in front of her. Without saying a word, he offered his hand. Anna stared at it. For a moment, she was afraid to accept. Not because she feared him, because every eye in the room was watching. Slowly, she placed her trembling hand in his. Domenico helped her to her feet. Only then did he turn toward the hundreds of stunned guests. His voice carried effortlessly through the ruined ballroom. "Every one of you witnessed betrayal tonight." No one interrupted. "You saw men who swore loyalty sell this family." His eyes swept across the assembled capos. "You saw politicians bargain with criminals." Then he looked toward Vivian. "You saw my future wife negotiate my execution." The silence became even heavier. Domenico gently raised the burner phone for everyone to see. "This." He held it above his shoulder. "This is the only reason I am still alive." He lowered the phone and looked directly at Anna. This woman carried it through a room full of people who wanted her dead. Murmurs spread among the guests. Many had not even noticed Anna until minutes earlier. Now they found themselves staring at her. Domenico continued. For years she cleaned these halls while powerful men ignored her. He glanced toward several embarrassed capos. "You discussed confidential business in front of her." Another pause. "You mocked her." His gaze shifted toward a group of wealthy socialites who suddenly found the floor fascinating. "You laughed at her." Vivian lowered her head for the first time. Domenico's voice remained calm. "Because you believed importance could be measured by expensive clothing, by titles, by appearances." He shook his head once. "You were wrong." Anna felt heat rising into her face. She wanted the attention to stop. She had never wanted recognition. She had only wanted to save 2 lives. Domenico continued anyway. When she overheard the conspiracy, she was threatened. He held up Anna's bruised wrist. "My future bride promised to murder her innocent sister." Several guests gasped quietly. She was followed. He pointed toward Donovan's lifeless body. "Hunted." He looked around the ballroom again. "And still," his voice grew firmer, "she crawled through abandoned servant passages built inside these walls." Only a handful of elderly staff members exchanged surprised looks. None of the guests had known those passages even existed. "She entered the private suite of the woman plotting my murder." He lifted the burner phone once more. "She stole the evidence." Another pause. And when she realized I might never read her message, he looked directly at Anna. She walked into this room knowing she would almost certainly die. The words struck Anna harder than the earlier gunfire. Until that moment, she had never truly considered what she had accepted. She had walked toward Donovan, expecting never to see Lily again. Tears blurred her vision. Domenico noticed. He lowered his voice. "You saved my life." Then he turned toward the Mafia hierarchy. "You saved every loyal family represented here tonight." One by one, heads began lowering. Marco Bellini removed his hat. Vincent Caruso followed. Within seconds, veteran capos who had spent decades earning fear and respect bowed their heads toward the woman they had never bothered to learn the name of. The room changed. Not loudly, not dramatically, but permanently. Vivian stared in disbelief. The same men who had ignored Anna for years were now honoring her. She laughed bitterly. "This is ridiculous." No one answered. She looked desperately toward several politicians. None met her eyes. She turned toward the remaining businessmen. They looked away. For the first time in her life, beauty, wealth, and status bought her absolutely nothing. Two Russo guards stepped beside her. She glared at Domenico. "You owe me a trial. You'll receive one. You can't simply hand me over." "No." His expression never changed. "I'll hand you to the people you tried to manipulate." He nodded toward the legal team already preserving the digital evidence, the recordings. He nodded toward the burner phone, the financial transfers. He nodded toward the restrained conspirators. And the witnesses. Vivian's confidence finally broke. "You'll destroy everything." "No," Domenico replied quietly. "You tried." The guards escorted Vivian toward the entrance. She twisted once to look back at Anna. Hatred burned in her eyes. "This isn't over." Anna met her gaze for the first time without fear. "It already is." Vivian disappeared through the ballroom doors. No one watched her leave. Every eye remained on Anna. 3 days later, Lily Hollings awoke in a private medical suite overlooking the Hudson River. The room was larger than her family's entire apartment. Specialists moved quietly through modern equipment, while 2 discreet security officers remained outside the door. Anna stood beside the bed in disbelief. A senior physician smiled warmly. "Miss Hollings, your sister has been transferred under permanent medical protection." Anna blinked. "I don't understand." "The Russo Foundation has assumed lifetime responsibility for her treatment." "Lifetime?" The physician nodded. "No more applications. No more financial reviews. No more waiting lists." Anna covered her mouth. For years she had measured hope, one hospital bill at a time. Now someone had simply removed the burden entirely. Lily looked between the doctor and her sister. "What happened?" Anna laughed through tears. "It's a very long story." Anna never returned to cleaning the upstairs hallways. 1 week after the failed engagement, Domenico invited her into his private office. The atmosphere felt completely different from their previous conversations. There were no attorneys, no armed capos, only the 2 of them. A folder rested on his desk. "I have a proposal." Anna remained standing. "I've never managed anything." "You've managed this estate for years." "I cleaned it. You learned it." He opened the folder. Blueprints of the mansion filled the pages. Hidden passages, security routes, blind spots, maintenance access. Every weakness Anna had quietly memorized. "You understand this property better than my security chief." She looked down at the drawings. "I've never thought of it that way." "I have." He closed the folder. "I want you to oversee internal household security." Anna stared at him. "You can't be serious." "I've never been more serious." "I don't have experience. You have observation. I don't have authority. You'll have mine." She hesitated. What if people refuse to listen? A faint smile appeared on Domenico's face. "They won't." Several months later, the Russo family hosted another formal gathering. The same ballroom had been repaired. The chandeliers sparkled once more. The bullet holes had vanished. Many of the guests had not. The traitors were gone. The loyal remained. Anna paused outside the entrance, wearing a simple navy blue evening dress. She still carried herself with quiet humility. But she no longer lowered her eyes. As the doors opened, conversations slowly faded. One after another. Every capo in the room stood, not because Domenico had ordered them, because respect had already made the decision. Anna looked overwhelmed. Domenico crossed the ballroom toward her. He extended his hand exactly as he had on the night everything changed. This time she accepted it without hesitation. Together they faced the room. Domenico's voice carried the same calm authority it always had. But this announcement felt different. "Many of you remember her as the maid who worked these halls." He looked proudly at Anna. "I remember her as the woman who refused to abandon this family when nearly everyone else failed. He gently squeezed her hand. "Allow me to introduce Anna Hollings." A quiet smile crossed his face. "Ow, the woman who saved the Russo family." The room erupted into respectful applause. Anna realized something extraordinary. Nothing about her body had changed. Nothing about her past had disappeared. She was still the same woman who had scrubbed marble floors before sunrise. The difference was that courage had revealed a value no insult had ever been able to erase. She had never needed to become someone else. She had only needed one chance for the truth to be seen. And standing beside the most powerful mafia boss on the East Coast, she understood that the greatest victories are not won by the people everyone notices. Sometimes they belong to the person everyone underestimated.